And the end of the second over, 15 for no wicket. Very good start for the Northern Knights.
Yeah, the lining just probably been a little bit wayward. So Barry McCarthy was probably bowling a bit too straight, and to be fair, Fionn Hand had a decent over, just that one delivery, that short and wide one that was flayed away for 6.
Just 2 fielders allowed outside the circle in the opening overs. And of course, there's very important for the bowling side to keep their over rate up, because there are penalties if the over rate's too slow. Good fielding. Lovely stop there at mid-wicket by Fionn Hand.
Yeah, brilliant from Hand. McCarthy's still too straight. He's still looking for that swing. And it's not there, and he's trying on his pads. And Harry Tector sprinted from first slip to give his Ireland colleague Fionn Hand a high five and say well done. But yeah, McCarthy's got to fix his line here. He's looking for the ball to move, and it's not obliging so far.
Actually bowling into the wind. Oh, lovely shot. A little bit uppish, but well away from the fielders. And another boundary for the Northern Knights.
Yeah, short and wide. Got the treatment it deserved. Better line from McCarthy, but just that length. Not going to get away with that.
First boundary of the innings for Rossiter. He moves to 5. Pretorius on 12. That one found the edge. A run to the Northern Knights.
Yeah, that's his area, isn't it? Just Rossiter caught him slightly. Not sure whether to go forward or back, and in the end he's actually played it pretty well. Soft hands, ensuring the edge doesn't fly. Just rolls on the deck, but that's much better from McCarthy.
Just 2 slips for the Lightning in these opening overs. That's a better delivery. Perhaps McCarthy beginning to find his line and length. Leinster Lightning, the champions, hoping to make a really good start to their campaign. For their part, Northern Knights will be hoping for a better season this year. Can't quite understand why they didn't take a run there.
Oh, well, he's left the ball. He's not played a shot. So if you do leave it and it hits you on the pad, and you try and run, the umpire's just going to signal dead ball. So there's no real point in trying to take off.
Well wide of the off stump, ending the 3rd over. And it's a very healthy 20 for no wicket for the Northern Knights in the early exchanges here in Sydney Parade in this Rario Interprovincial Cup Series, which started yesterday with the Northwest Warriors winning in the Mardyke against Munster Reds.
You just wonder how long does George Dockrell, as skipper, how long does he give his opening bowlers just to try and find these lines? I mean, Hand looks slightly more comfortable than McCarthy, but we mentioned earlier he has got young Ruben Wilson, who's a very exciting prospect. A lot of people looking forward to watching him bowl today, and he is his best is when he's got the new ball. So it's almost a case of, well, if these two guys aren't using it properly, let's see what the young lad has.
Onto that very quickly. Good, quick hands there from Rossiter. 4 over the covers.
Yeah, just too full from Fionn-Hand. You can see what he's trying to do. Trying to get that ball up and swing it away for the 2 slip fielders, but he's just ended up bowling a half volley, and Rossiter said thank you very much. And he's there's not a lot of bushes over there on that side of the ground of Pembroke, but they do look to have swallowed up the ball somewhat. Bit of a delay here. I think they've eventually found it.
Couple of boundaries now to Adair, and a couple to Pretorius. Very healthy run rate so far, but it is early days. Harry Tector and George Dockrell the slips. As that one finds that gap along the corridor of uncertainty, but fair play. Adair letting it go.
It's much better from Hand. That's his length. Big, tall, strong man. He wants to be hitting the deck as much as he possibly can. Doesn't want to be too floaty.
And that was an excellent delivery. Probably the best of the morning so far.
And he's just seen Rossiter come at him, I think, dragged his length back. And he's still managed to move the ball away from him. Rossiter squared up all ends. Really good from Hand. He's recovered nicely with these 2 deliveries after getting spanked over the covers first ball of the over.
And that one squeezed just backward of square on the offside. Another boundary for the Northern Knights. And another 4 runs for Rossiter.
What a start for Rossiter. Fast hands. Wasn't that short. A decent length, but just that ounce of width outside the off stump. And there's able to flay it through. Not a lot of foot movement, just stays still, but just opens his hands nicely and flays it through. Really good bat speed.
Swing and a miss. One of the first we've had today.
He's in the mood, isn't he, Rossiter? A couple of boundaries away. He's still going after it. One of those where if you're Fionn-Hand, you almost don't mind necessarily in playing those type of shots, even if you have been hit the 2 boundaries in the over. If you get your length right, as he did on that occasion, you can ask questions.
And a good fight back from Fionn-Hand at the end of his second over. But a very healthy 28 for no wicket after 4. Adair on 14, Pretorius on 12. Well, Northern Knights coach Simon Johnson certainly looking to see a big improvement from his side in 2023.
Yeah, they're flattered to deceive last year, I think, certainly, and there's a lot of really intriguing players in this Knights side. I mean, you look at guys like Tom Mays, Matthew Humphreys, Matthew Foster have all been in and around the Irish setup, newly capped in the case of Humphreys. Mays and Foster haven't got there yet, but they've been in and around the setup, training with the squad, and they were younger players last year, so I think a lot of people are really intrigued to see what that winter with the Irish setup has done for them, because the Knights were one of the weaker sides last year, and if those players have got the promise that it looks like they have, they're going to have to step up this season.
That was a better delivery from McCarthy. Just back of a length and forcing the batter into a defensive shot. Slightly slower delivery. Does it surprise you, Nathan, that McCarthy is bowling into the wind today?
I don't think so. I think this is his home ground. Pembroke, he's played a lot of cricket here. He probably would have had his choice of ends as the senior bowler in this Lightning attack. Like I said, he knows his ground very well. And I think he's experienced enough to be able to handle a bit of wind.
Another good delivery, perfect length. Very good start to this over for McCarthy. $11 runs coming off the first 2. Hard to know what a good score would be early in the season. Softish outfield.
Well, there's value there for your shots. Yes, the Lightning have been reasonably poor with the ball, but the Knights have got full value and they've decided to go after it. And the outfield looks good. They've been able to hit through the line. It looks like there could be a relatively big total.
Down the leg side and signalled a wide.
This is a very high scoring ground as well, normally in inter-pro cricket. We've seen some massive totals here at the Lightning's home venue in previous seasons.
Played straight back to the bowler. McCarthy managing to stop it. Very good over this so far. 4 dot balls. Just slowing down this start from Northern Knights.
Yeah, it's a lot better from McCarthy. He hasn't been as straight as he has been in previous overs. His radar is much more up to it in this over.
Simi Singh there just giving him a little tap of congratulations for improvement. But it's a wicket he'll want to stop this partnership from developing. Played into the cover, slight misfield, but no run.
A bit of a fumble there from Gavin Hoey. No damage done. I think Rossiter actually did want to take the single after the fumble, but... or should I say, it was Pretorius who wanted it. Rossiter sent him back very quickly.
Well, if you'd asked Coach Simon Johnson if a run of ball was what he'd get from the opening 5 overs without dropping a wicket, he'd probably have bitten your hand off. Ooh, another swing and a miss. Fast delivery, getting up. And just a little bit too hot for Rossiter to handle. At the end of the 5th over, it's 29 for no wicket.
And you can just see Ruan Pretorius there, just motioning, just kind of at the ball with his hand, that the ball is just zipped up off a length. I think he'd only expected that to rise as quickly as it did. Just a sign that, as always, with these early season pitches, it's probably just a little bit too paced. We've seen 1 or 2 that keep low, and then there's that one that just shoots up off a length.
So continuing with Fionn Hand. His 3rd over. Nice delivery. Bent away from the right-hander. A little bit of movement there off the seam. Ooh, that wasn't played with any authority. Squirting away behind point for a run. Could so easily have gone to hand.
He's very fortunate there, is Rossiter. He wants to use his feet, he wants to come at Fionn Hand. That's not for the first time. Hand saw him coming, dragged his length back. There plays the wrong line, and that leading edge could have gone anywhere. Landed just short of Tim Tector at point.
Yep, just signs now that Leinster Lightning are starting to find their length and their rhythm. And another good delivery from Hand. lifting off a length. Another safe delivery from Fionn Hand, well wide of the off stump. So much practice going in before these matches. Of course, this is the first competitive game of the interprovincial series for these two sides, and it takes a while for bowlers to just feel their way in the middle.
Well, especially someone like Fionn Hand. I mean, we spoke about McCarthy's been out for a while with injury, so there might be some rust there, but you know, Hand he's been in the Ireland camp for a while now. He went to travel on that tour to Asia. Oh, that's going to fly away off the top edge of Ruan Pretorius. That has gone an absolute mile. Not in control of that pull shot whatsoever, but the extra pace and bounce of Hand has taken it flying over the wicketkeeper.
Here it is again. It was a good delivery.
Yeah, that's twice now. We saw what happened with McCarthy in the previous over. They've tested Pretorius with a shorter delivery. It doesn't look overly convincing. Hand isn't the quickest bowler in the world, but he does bend his back and gets that little bit of extra bounce.
And that one just a single down to third man. He's raced along to 19, but without looking completely convincing, Ruan Pretorius. At the end of the 6th over, 37 for no wicket.
Well, he's hit 2 maximums so far as Ruan Pretorius, both off the outer half of the bat. Like we said, Fionn Hand, he's coming down the hill as well at the end that he's bowling from here in Pembroke. So with someone like that's coming down the hill and bowling some heavy lengths, the ball does absolutely fly if you get a bit of bat on it.
And very short boundaries straight on this ground. So no change yet from George Dockrell. Barry McCarthy to continue. Straight ball played firmly up the ground, just the single. Simi Singh quickly onto it. Pretorius moves to 20.
Just to finish what we were saying about Fionn Hand before the maximum interrupted us, you know, he's been working a lot with Ireland, but he hasn't had a lot of game time. He got an outing in Bangladesh back on that tour, but since then he's been carrying the drinks more or less. So as much as he has been playing a lot of cricket off behind the scenes, he hasn't played that much competitive cricket.
That was a quick delivery. It's a straight one too, but no finger from the umpire, much to the consternation of those men behind the stumps, those Ireland players.
Well, I was given that from our angle. We're just behind. But as we look at the replay here, Barry McCarthy coming in, it looked very close. Crashing into leg stump, I think. Maybe the umpire thought it was going down a missing leg, but it's hit him on the back pad. And I think that was crashing into middle and leg.
Barry McCarthy, not a happy camper. First moment of controversy in the game, perhaps.
Barry McCarthy's fuming. He's taken an absolute age to get back to his mark.
Fit to be tied. Not surprisingly, you can't bowl a ball much better than that. A life for Rossadair. Can you make advantage of that? Very good ball from McCarthy on the follow-up, and well played too.
The only thing I can think of is the umpire thought it might have just hit the front pad first. And always on that angle, on that middle and leg angle, if it hits the front pad, more distance to travel between the stumps, potentially I think it's going down. But when it hits him on the back pad, and that's right adjacent in front, it doesn't have a lot left to travel. That's the only thing that I can think of that saved Rossiter there, because on second viewing, granted with the benefit of slow motion, it certainly looked like it hit him on the back pad in front of leg stump.
Surely this one will get... Well, my word, that looked even closer. McCarthy can't believe it.
On first viewing, I thought, I don't know if that one was as adjacent as the first one. Maybe this time the decision might be more justified, but once you get one or two half shouts and they're not going your way, you think the world is against you. So we have another look here. Rossiter, he's struggling with this straight line. McCarthy's honing in on those stumps. Oh, I think there might have been an inside edge. It looked like the ball deviated a little bit.
Well, he's a hot-headed character sometimes.
I think everyone
Barry
is.
McCarthy.
Everyone is when you're not getting LBWs.
Oh, what a catch. George Dockrell at second slip, flying away to his left, and finally the wicket comes for Leinster Lightning after a couple of near misses. First wicket falls with the score on 38, and Adair is caught by Dockrell. Bowled McCarthy for 15.
Barry McCarthy can calm down a little bit now after he was a bit hot under the collar after those two close LBW shouts. Big drive from Rossiter, took the edge. It absolutely flew behind the stumps. It's a good, sharp chance taken at second slip by George Dockrell, one of the better fielders in Irish cricket. You can see McCarthy wasn't there to drive. Adair's trying to go on the up, doesn't get his front foot moving. That's a brilliant take by Dockrell behind.
Well, it was coming, and to be fair to Leinster Lightning, they deserve that wicket. They've bowled a lot better in the last couple of overs. First, Fionn Hand with a really good over from the other end, and McCarthy keeping up the pressure. So the incoming batsman, John Matchett from CIYMS, coming in at number 3 for the Northern Knights. "25-year-old from Belfast." And after a really good start, the Knights will have to re-establish themselves now in this 50-over innings. That one well wide of the off stump. But the end of a very good over from McCarthy. A couple of LBW shouts and then that wicket. Certainly his best of the innings so far, and it's 38 for 1 after 7.
Yeah, they drag things back nicely here. Have the Lightning, after an expensive first 4 or 5 overs, they finally get the breakthrough that they were looking for. Well, we were talking about him earlier, and it looks like young Ruben Wilson is going to come into the attack. YMCA fast bowler. Got a lot of promise, and they really do rate him highly, both at YM and here at the Lightning.
One of 3 YMCA players in this Leinster Lightning team today.
There's a big YM influence. He's saying he used to play for YMCA. Fionn Hand, well, even ran out for a season or 2, I think, at Claremont Road. He's at Clontarf now, of course.
So Pretorius on 20 will be on strike for Wilson's first delivery. And a very good delivery it is too, right on the money. Perhaps just a little high.
Yeah, maybe a little bit high, sneaking down leg as well, I think. That's what John Matchett is saying to ruin Pretorius at the non-strikers end, just that it was sliding down. Took a really nice action as Wilson. Very repeatable. Yeah, just having a chat with the umpire to ask him what was wrong with that. Probably missing leg.
Pretorius needs to re-establish himself. He hasn't had too much of the strike. And that's snicked and goes through Tector in slip. That really flew away. I'm not sure if he was able to get behind that one.
Just a bit of confusion there between Tector and Dockrell in the cordon. I think for the previous one that Dockrell did catch, he did actually slightly jump across Tector to claim it, and maybe just after seeing that, Tector thought that Dockrell would once again moved. As you can see, yeah, he sees Dockrell flinches towards him, he pulls out, and by the time he realises that Dockrell didn't actually go for it, it was too late. So hard in that slip cordon. The second you see something in your eye line, you haven't got any time to react.
Great start. Really good start from Wilson.
Yeah, it looked like he's trying to bring that one back in. Normally moves the ball away. Good skills from Ruben Wilson. Trying to move the ball both ways early on in his spell.
One of the less experienced players in this Leinster Lightning team. But he certainly made a confident start. That one just pitched up a little bit too much. Just a single, though, for Pretorius.
I suppose the benefit of starting as well as Wilson has done, though, is when he does give a half-volley delivery, he can get away with it because the batter's footwork isn't as sharp as it should be. And there's a bit of concern here. Barry McCarthy took a tumble to stop that ball in mid-on. He is only just back from injury. He's hurt something. I think he's okay. He was almost, not quite laughing it off, but he's rubbing his thigh. I'm not sure, maybe he just fell on the ball as he dove down, but just for a second there, there was a bit of concern.
Hopefully more of a bang than a pull. Oh, not the most convincing of strokes from John Matchett there. Played and missed just outside the off stump. Wonderful opening over from the young man. Getting plenty of encouragement from great delivery. Matchett not comfortable at all. He hasn't really settled in yet.
What a start from Ruben Wilson.
Incredible over. 6 wonderful deliveries. Plenty of variety, right on the money.
He's really unfortunate not to have his first wicket of the day as well. His only blemish was that boundary that was nicked through the cordon, and just a breakdown in communication between the two slip fielders, Tector and Dockrell, cost Wilson a wicket in his first over.
Well, McCarthy's okay. He's going to resume for his 5th over from the camera end. The 9th over of the inning. 43 for 1 the score. And another really sharp delivery, and once again the decision is not out.
McCarthy's ticking. I'll have to see that one again, but they don't seem to be as perturbed with this decision as the previous two. Maybe sliding down leg, perhaps a little bit high as well. But he's honing in on those stumps, McCarthy. Oh, it's going well down leg, I think.
That was an easier decision for the umpire. But McCarthy, he's got his tail up here. Straight delivery, turned to mid-wicket, no run. Precious few bats getting on the ball in the last few overs. The Northern Knights have been struggling, really, after a great start.
Yeah, Lightning have done a really good job of pulling things back, and just a sign that it's probably quite a good pitch. When there are those mistakes in length, batters have been able to punish them, but equally when bowlers have gotten it right, the ball has talked quite a lot. It's been really challenging in these last few overs.
Great ball, great shot. Straight down the ground, firmly hit. Most convincing stroke we've seen for about 3 overs.
It's an absolute beauty from Ruan Pretorius. Half volley outside off, yes. But it's always so satisfying to see a batter just stick his foot down the wicket and smack it down the ground. Stand and deliver.
5th boundary of the innings for Pretorius, who moves to 29 off 30 deliveries. Good comeback from McCarthy. Pretorius happy to let that one go through to Lorcan Tucker. Turning into a really good contest, this.
It's a good battle between McCarthy and Pretorius. McCarthy definitely had the better of Ross Adair, hitting his pad almost every second delivery before he eventually got that edge. Pretorius just, his footwork looks a little bit more convincing. Trying to deal with McCarthy's challenge a little better this so far. Yeah, McCarthy's dragged his length back after being driven down the ground. He's not going to give that half volley length again in this over, I suspect.
Of course, 10 over is the limit in 50 over cricket. And McCarthy coming towards the halfway point of his spell. This could be his last delivery for a while. And a good delivery it was too, and good running from the Northern Knights. And at the end of over number 9, it's 48 for 1. Sun coming out intermittently on this chilly morning in Sydney Parade. First day of the Rario Interprovincial Cup for these two sides. Northwest Warriors with the opening win yesterday against the Munster Reds. And a nice delivery there from Wilson, whose first over was exceptionally good. Just a slight adjustment to the sight screen at the far end of the ground. For Pretorius, who's on 30. And a snick, and it's down from Dockrell. Matchett was thinking about a quick run, but Pretorius decides to stay where he is.
Was a tough chance. Sharp low to Dockrell's right. He's a tall man. It's really hard to get down diving to your right hand side that quickly. Wilson's luck is not on his side. That's 2 chances that have gone down now in the slip cordon. That second one much more difficult than the first, granted.
Yeah, that was difficult. As you were saying, ball flying towards the slips, and especially when it's low down like that. And that one beats the fielder in the covers, and it's gone away for 4. And another boundary for the Northern
It's
Knights.
the first poor delivery we've seen from Ruben Wilson in this spell. Just a low full toss. Pretorius, he's been pretty efficient actually at punishing the Lightning when they have erred. Mark Donegan nearly got a hand on it at mid-off, but it's another boundary for Pretorius. But
52 for 1 in the 10th over. And this one also straight back past the bowler, but just the single this time. Pretorius on to 35. Matchett yet to score.
not the worst single in the world for Ruben Wilson. I think he fancies a go at John Matchett here. New batter. Been a little bit circumspect facing him in the previous over. Very interesting matchup here. He's got two deliveries that left at him.
Oh, nice shot, squeezed away, backward of point for a boundary, and Matchett gets off the mark.
Look, he has crossed the boundary there, Wilson, but it's almost one you don't mind. It's not a completely convincing stroke from Matchett. There was a little bit of width on offer, yes, but it's come off the outer half of the bat. It's one of those as a bowler where you think, look, I pitched it up, I've got two slips in. If he's good enough to find that gap, fair play to him. Let's see him do it again.
Plenty of gaps in the outfield in this opening 10 overs. Just two fielders allowed outside the circle. And that's a good comeback delivery from Wilson. And a really good spell from him developing. None for 14 off 2 overs, but he's probably bowled better than that. He's been unlucky.
Good morning, Stephen. Well, that's been
Hi,
a
Craig.
fine opening 10 overs. Honours even, really. The Lightning had a couple of close LBW shouts. And then finally, McCarthy picking up the wicket of Adair, being the only success really for the Leinster Lightning so far.
And there's the bowling figures. McCarthy with 5 overs of pretty hostile quick bowling for just 18 runs. And Fionn Hand and Ruben Wilson doing really well. Now Hand changing ends. And
Yeah.
just as he was at the far end, right on the spot with his opening delivery.
Well, I think Fionn Hand will prefer bowling from the St John's end.
Pretorius pulls it away to wide mid-on for yet another boundary, and this developing into a very good knock from the South African. 39 of 39 deliveries.
Yes, certainly not hanging around. Run a ball, but on this occasion he's just waited for that one, and he saw the space. And as you said earlier, only 2 inside the circle, so once it beat the ring, it was running away to the boundary.
And that one got up off just back of a length. So Pretorius unable to add to his 7 boundaries so far. 5 4s and 2 6s.
Well, we haven't seen too many 2s so far. It's either boundary or dot by and by.
There actually hasn't been a 2 yet.
Well, there we go. Outfield running very nicely. I think the groundsman, Dale McDonough, will be pleased with what he's seen so far from his work.
And the wicket's got plenty of pace in it, despite all of the recent rain.
Well, you can see the effects of the rain in that the wicket itself has a green tinge, one might say, to it. And one can understand why the Lightning decided to bowl first, having won the toss.
That one was a bit short, and it's pulled away handsomely over the wall for a 6.
Well, that's the first one into the gardens. New ball will have to come out from the match referee. But that one just, he was very quick to pick up the length. And nicely dispatched. You see it just disappearing over the wire fence, over the wall.
Well, Pretorius, he's had his moments of indecision and a bit of trouble, but 45 now of 42 deliveries.
Wow.
And a bit of a confab going on between George Dockrell and Fionn Hand. Simi Singh joining in as the Lightning look to quell this very quick run rate from the Northern Knights in these opening 11 overs. Could be quite a total here today.
Well, it certainly looks like it will outscore the game in the Mardyke yesterday. Just under 300 runs scored there in 2 innings. But yes, if from this solid base of 67 for 1 in this, the 11th over, one can see a score certainly in excess of 300. And again, one of the most important things is wickets in hand.
That small delay occasioned by the loss of the ball into the gardens. So umpires had to get a replacement that was of suitable vintage to the one that's being used. Not easy to find.
Once again, it's a mix and match situation. You start off with a beautiful new ball, but very quickly, all it takes one into the gardens, and suddenly you don't know what you're getting out of the box.
Better delivery from Hand. Just played gently into mid-wicket.
Far fuller length that ball to finish off that over, but again, the Northern Knights scoring at over a run a ball at the moment, and that's 11 overs gone, and the score has moved on to 67 for 1. Ross Adair, the only one to fall so far, he fell 15.
And Pretorius, well, just a boundary away from a first half century of the interprovincial season. And a change of bowling for the Lightning. No, it's a continuation. No, Wilson's going to continue from the far end.
Just a quick word with his skipper. Still 2 slips in place for him, and deservedly so. I mean, there's been a couple fly through that area already this morning.
That one turned just backward of square for a single. Match it. Moving to 5.
Match it, of course. He's in line for a very long season. He was one of the CIYMS players who went out to Malaga and played in the European Cricket League, where CIYMS, as the Irish representatives, won their group, but then fell on finals day of the finals tournament.
Nicely played into the covers, and some very sharp fielding there by Harry Tector. Couldn't quite find the stumps at the bowler's end.
But great to see such sharp ground fielding. I mean, we are watching the step between club and international, but that was some fine fielding.
Nice delivery, lots of lift, just backward of a length. Matchett unable to get near it.
Well, he seemed to take a step to go down towards the bowler, but then realised that he wasn't in the right position for the shot and left it well enough alone. Ruben Wilson, member of the YMCA club.
Young bowler with a lot of promise, and he's really shown some good form this morning. And there's another beautiful delivery, lifting off a good length and through to Tucker.
Well, Matchett did well to get out of the way of that one. He's shaped to play it. Wasn't quite there to be hit.
Well, there's plenty in this wicket for the bowlers, but it's also a good wicket for the batsmen. This is proving to be a very good strip.
Well, speaking to the groundsman before the game, he reckons it's the best wicket he's prepared in Pembroke over the years.
Slipped away just wide of Dockrell.
Fielder gets there.
And
Prevents
fielded
the
down
boundary.
at third man. A single off the edge of Matchett, who's struggling to find the middle of his bat.
As you say, this wicket is sort of fair for both teams, and Pretorius has shown what you can do once you get in. He struggled early on, and he's now settled down, and he's now on the brink of a half century. And Matchett is just going through his own little troubles now. But if he comes out the far side, survives for another couple of overs, you may see him starting to play with a bit more freedom.
Quickly run first single, but definitely no two on there. Just the single for Pretorius, who moves to 47. And after 12 overs, 71 for 1 is an impressive start for the Northern Knights.
Certainly the way they would have wanted to get their Rero Interprovincial Cup campaign underway.
So Fionn Han to continue.
It's great to see so many of the Irish squad actually playing today. Temptation must have been after last week with Bangladesh for a rest, but you see so many of the team out here today.
Good delivery, well watched by Pretorius, whose first ambition will be to get that 50. Pushed into the covers, wide of Simi Singh, who couldn't quite find the target. Just a single. Pretorius moves to 48, just ahead of a runner ball, and Hand will be happy to have a go here at Matchett, who hasn't really settled in yet. Good delivery.
Well, he got well in behind that one. Dot ball.
Well, the Northern Knights can afford to be patient. They've really made a good start here, and as we were saying, plenty of wickets in hand, which is what you need in the 50-over game.
Well, the wickets in hand is absolutely vital, but on top of that, the Northern Knights have also scored at a very good rate, and that's giving them this solid base, and one would think that they'll be looking to push on from here. And they'll be eyeing up over 300 anyway.
Nicely played, kept down well, and just enough pace on it to get to the battery. Matchett with his second 4 of the innings. And Fionn Hand, despite bowling quite well, has been very expensive. 39 off just under 5 overs.
Going at about 8 and over at the moment, but he's trying to create opportunities, and at the moment the Northern Knights are taking advantage.
That's a better delivery, pitched up more, good length, and the over is up. The 13th over of the innings, 76 for 1. The run rate almost up to a run a ball. And a very good start for the Northern Knights, but Leinster Lightning will still feel that they're very much in this match because they've had plenty of chances.
A couple of close LBW shouts in that first 10 overs, a couple have flown through the slips, so yes, there have been opportunities, there have been chances, but the Northern Knights going about their task and doing so very well.
Plenty of cloud cover here in Sydney Parade today. Coolish breeze.
Well, you can see from the bowler, it was a very half-hearted appeal there.
That's just what I was going to say.
Just exactly going down leg. And Wilson wasn't that interested, threw the hand up when he heard the appeal from behind the sticks, but I think we all knew that one was actually going down the leg side.
I think it was Harry Tector at backward point who was making the biggest shout there. Just one slip now. Dockrell the only one left in. That's turned nicely down to fine leg to Simi Singh for another single. Pretorius just one away from a 50 now. 77 on the board, and we haven't had a 2 or a 3. It's all 1s and 4s and 6s.
Well, Shane Gate got the Interprovincial Cup underway yesterday with a fine half-century as the Northwest chased down Munster Reds 149. He got 53. And Pretorius is looking at that now.
Good delivery that time from Wilson. Matchett just playing it gently into mid-wicket. This longer format of the one-day game is probably a more tactical game.
That's a lovely shot.
That's a great ball. Great hit. Matchett pulling it all the way for 6.
Just
Over
got onto that
backward
so
square.
early, didn't he? Gone so early, lifted it over the ring, and in fact over the rope as well. And it's a decent size hit down to the railway line.
One of the first loose deliveries really from Wilson, who's been very steady up to now.
The inexperience of youth, and it's the consistency that he's looking for, and that's what he'll look to develop this season. As he looks to break in to the Irish squad, no doubt, has ambitions in that front.
Sharply taken single. Was good running. Matchett was looking for 2, but Pretorius slipped as he dived to make his ground, and I think there might be a problem with his pad. He needs a new pad.
He's broken the top strap of the 3. And the 2 now meeting in the middle as he waits for a new pad. A few discussions on. In fact, he's going to change both of them. So there'll be a small break here now.
Not a chance for George Dockrell and his team to maybe just reconsider their tactics for the rest of this inning.
Well, they certainly went after wickets in the first 10 overs. And it's been at the cost of runs leaking, really. So do they now go for more wickets or just to reduce the run rate? And of course, now we're out of the power play, they can have more outside the ring. But do they really want more outside the ring, or will George be looking to break this partnership as soon as possible?
Well, I'm sure spin will be introduced soon. We've only seen medium to medium quick so far.
Well, George Dockrell, Simi Singh, there's enough bowling on the Leinster Lightning side.
Yeah, we're getting towards that part of the innings where the spin bowlers usually take over, and Dockrell just warming up at the moment, so no doubt he will be bringing himself on quite soon. That run rate just slipping over 6 and over.
And again, it's the old adage of, sort of one, if they pounce on the one bad ball and over and get a boundary from it, then it's very easy to keep that run rate at 6.
Last ball of the 14th over. Turned nicely round the corner by Pretorius for an excellent 50. Really good boundary by the South African. Apart from a couple of moments, he's batted very solidly. And 3 sixes and 4 fours, 5 fours in that.
Well, he's been out there for an hour, and he certainly had his struggles early on, but he fought his way through that and has now come out the far side with a well-deserved half-century. The second one of this Interprovincial Cup.
This one just a little bit quicker.
I suspect so. I suspect so.
Gakata yesterday 56 not out in the winning run chase from the Northwest Warriors in the Mardyke, a game that you saw.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, real life got in the way of that one for me. Nathan was down commentating, whereas I was sat in a courtroom, not as the defendant.
George Dockrell coming on now, as anticipated, to replace Fionn Hand, whose last couple of overs were quite expensive into the breeze.
So George starting by coming around the wicket to Pretorius.
And he just pats it into the covers for a single. Fionn Hand sends it back. Well, this ground always has the potential to see massive scores.
Last year's Interprovincial certainly saw a tremendous amount of big hitting, certainly in the IP20 T20 tournament. It was raining sixes everywhere on that day.
Leinster, I think, scored, what was it, 260 odd in 20 overs? That's a nice single.
Played.
Matchett just playing it gently into the gap.
And this is one of the things about the Northern Lights innings so far, is it hasn't all just been going for big hits. This isn't slogging by any stretch of the imagination. They're taking what's being offered to them. So if it's a single inside the ring, they'll take it. Not on this occasion, but they've been good.
Very annoyed with themselves. There's a big gap just behind mid-wicket, and he couldn't find it. Oh, that's a beautiful delivery. Flighted and a little bit of lift as well.
That would be hugely encouraging for George Dockrell. See this one, it just bitten inside the bat. Well, you can see why he was excited about that one. Oh, there's half calling.
Mix up here, and it's a wicket for the Leinster Lightning. A mistake in the running between Pretorius and Matchett is run out. That's a bit of a setback for the Northern Knights. 18 off 18 deliveries from Matchett, but he has to go after that hesitation between the two Knights batsmen.
Well, I didn't hear any calling, and it seemed to be done on telepathy, and as a result it was very slow out of the box, Matchett, and he falls for 18. And one has to say, he'd done the hard work, and now, due to a poor calling between the batsmen, the Leinster Lightning get a breakthrough, and they needed that.
Yeah, lucky break for them. You don't expect to get run-outs at this level of the game, but oftentimes just the communications desert people, and the batsmen aren't exactly sure what they're doing.
Well, I think part of it, and we saw this with the Super Series games played in Merion at the weekend, is these are sides that are put together from many different clubs, and perhaps some of these guys aren't used to running with each other yet. By the end of the Interprovincial Series, you'll probably find that wouldn't happen. But this is the first game for both teams, and just, shall we say, some creases in the communication that need to be ironed out. And once they are, I think the number of run-outs will decrease dramatically. But at this stage, I don't think the Leinster Lightning are going to be too concerned how they take the wicket. They just needed to break that partnership.
Well, if they'd got through that 15 overs with 1 wicket down, they probably would have felt that they were well on top of the game. But that lucky break for Leinster in the last ball of the 15th over means that they will just be given a little bit of momentum here.
Very much so. And such a shame for the Northern Knights. Those two had put on 49. It deserved the half-century partnership, but that wasn't to be. As they went for it, they fell a yard short of it. But you see here on the card, well, Pretorius is well set, and he's scoring at a good rate. In fact, all 3 batsmen who have been in have scored well, and that's resulted in the fact that the Northern Knights are very close to 6 and over at this stage. Just the 1 wicket to fall on the bowling side, and that was to McCarthy. He had a couple of LBW shouts early on that I'm sure he'll look back at. But change of bowling now at the nursery end with the introduction of Simi Singh.
So spin from both ends for the Leinster Lightning. McCarthy has used up half of his overs. He's bowled 5, so has Hand. And now the middle overs, where we would expect to see plenty of spin.
Simi, the 5th bowler to be introduced today. One wonders how many bowlers will Leinster use.
Turned into the gap at square leg. Another run for Pretorius. And moves along to 52. And the new batsman, Cade Carmichael, from Instonians. Another South African. Very much an all-rounder in this Northern Knights team.
Well, the Northern Knights haven't won this competition since 2013. Their 1 victory in it, so they'll be looking to get their campaign off to a good start, and it certainly has been for them. 88 for 2 off just 15 overs. And just to show you how much cricket there is this summer, this is day 2 of 12 for the Rio Interprovincial Cup.
No run there.
A very definite no coming from Pretorius, having been involved in a run out. He's determined not to see a second one.
6 fielders in the circle for Leinster. Very short and pulled away. And too much for Fionn Hand to handle it, so another boundary for the Northern Knights.
Well, Simi normally bowls off spin. You could see that one came out of the back of the hand. But Carmichael was onto it very quickly. You see here now.
Very short. Very easy for a batsman of that quality to pick it up.
Simi just pulling that one down a bit more than he would have wanted. Much better delivery this time. But Carmichael will be delighted getting off the mark.
Turn to mid-wicket. Sharp fielding there by Tim Tector. Good fight back from Simi Singh. First over goes for 5. 92 for 2 with 16 gone.
Well, the Leinster Lightning will be delighted to have picked up that wicket through the run-out. And if they could take 1 or 2 more now, they'll feel they're right back in this game and with a good chance of limiting the Northern Knights. But as long as they hold wickets in hand, you feel there will be a big assault later on. Well, it is quite, should we say, on the cool side of summer today, but no sign of any rain. Some fluffy clouds making their way past Sydney Parade. There's George Dockrell now coming in from the St John's end.
Nice play, and that's out. LBW. Dockrell gets his wicket. It looked a little bit high. I'd like to see the replay of this one. But Pretorius has to go, and that's a huge wicket for Leinster Lightning. Pretorius out for 52 and walking rather disconsolately away.
I don't think he was too happy with the decision anyway, but who is with an LBW? We'll see here on the replay. It does seem a little on the high side.
That would have missed the stumps by at least 6 inches.
Well, I don't think, had it gone to DRS, that George would have even got umpire's call on that one. As you say, it seems to be going over the top, and Pretorius will have to go back and contain his disappointment. But a fine innings. The second half-century of the Interprovincial Cup.
So a run out on the last ball of Dockrell's previous over, and now a wicket in fortunate circumstances, and this game has turned around very quickly.
Well, that's exactly what the Leinster Lightning needed. They needed to see off Pretorius, and it may have been fortunate, but Leinster Lightning won't be going back for DRS.
Morgan topping the new batsman. And you can expect to see Leinster Lightning with their tails up here, making it very difficult for the Knights. 2 new batsmen, cool conditions, top quality spin bowling. They're going to have to earn it, the Knights.
Well, again, you saw that hesitation between the 2 batsmen there. One was ready for a single, the other one very definitely not. And again, it's the fact that it's a scratch team at the moment, and I'm sure coach Simon Johnson will be looking for an improvement in running as the season goes on.
Again, there was just a hint of hesitation between the batsmen as that one was pushed into the covers, and all the Lightning players have their tails up now. Turns straight to backward square leg, where Reuben Wilson is the fielder.
Well, everyone thought that seam was going to be the way to go today, and so far it's 2 wickets have fallen while the spinners have been on.
Quicker delivery from Dockrell there, just pushing it through and hurrying the batsman into the stroke, and that's a really important over for the Lightning. Fortunately, maybe getting the wicket, but wicket it is, and it's 92 for 3 after 17, and that run rate, which was at 6.07 just a few minutes ago, was slipped down to 5.4.
Yeah, under 5.5 now. Still 33 overs remaining. Still plenty of time for the Northern Knights. They just don't want to be losing too many wickets. And these 2 young batsmen, well, they come with good reputations.
So Simi Singh to continue from the far end. His second over. First went for 5. Very important for the Knights now to be patient and to build a partnership here.
They got a nice solid base in earlier on, but the loss of those 2 quick wickets now means it's 2 less experienced batsmen at the crease, and as you say, they need to rebuild a little.
Very good running there by Cade Carmichael to get the first two of the innings down to backward point.
Gavin Hoey of Trinity and Pembroke doing the fielding down there. He'd have spent many hours patrolling that fence boundary.
Flighted delivery, really tossed up that one. Single out to Hoey again. Morgan Topping yet to get off the mark. Always a nervous moment for any batsman.
Yes, it's always a sense of relief. Take away the duck just to get something on the board.
Slightly over pitched and straight down the ground. A bit of a gift which Singh will not be singing about. First boundary for Topping. That'll settle his nerves.
Just punching that one away, straight down the ground past the bowler. Not overhitting it. Just pushing it back. And here in Sydney Parade, that's running away for 4.
Oh, very nicely snicked away. There's nobody at third man, and that's going for 4. Good batting by Topping.
It's nice to see him not trying to overhit and hit in front of square. He realised and just played it down. It was almost a breaking of the wrists.
Yeah.
Just let it drop down towards third. And he picked up a second boundary.
Just using the pace of the delivery. Very useful stroke in any batter's armoury. And this one's turned to deep backward square for another single.
Wilson doing some fine fielding down there.
Not the best of overs from Simi Singh. A little bit loose. He's given the batsman opportunities just to settle in.
Well, that would be the word I use. Simi just hasn't settled into this spell yet. He hasn't found the length that will enable him to take control and stem the flow of runs. And that's 18 overs gone now. The 100 is up for the Northern Knights. They've reached 104 for 3 off 18 overs. And Carmichael and Topping, well, they're doing quite well at this stage. They've quickly put a dozen runs together themselves. And the run rate creeping back up towards that 6 after that. Well, relatively expensive over by Simi Singh.
Yes, probably the loosest over we've seen so far from Leinster Lightning. George Dockrell will be hoping to get some control back here. Seems like he's been around forever, George Dockrell.
Well, he certainly has had a full and varied cricket career. Used to be with Somerset back in the day. It was his
Nice delivery.
It was his left arm spin that brought him to national attention to begin with, but he's now also turned himself into a fine lower order batsman. A number of times he's dug not only the Leinster Lightning but Ireland with vital runs. This one, however, punched down the ground where Simi Singh fields.
And Topping moves into double figures. He looks solid. Carmichael now on strike. Just stepped back and gave himself room. Single into the deep where Fionn Hand is the fielder.
Quite sensible there, just playing it into the offside, taking the single on offer and rotating the strike.
And that's good running too. Much appreciated by his teammates down at the far end of the ground. This is good play by the Knights.
Wow.
Little fortunate there, the inside edge of Cade Carmichael's bat. Fielder at backward square to end Dockrell's second over.
Well, that one could have gone anywhere off that inside edge, and as you say, fortunately it squirted away from the stumps. George thought he was in with a chance there.
But these two seem to be resolutely trying to just rebuild the innings. Carmichael on 8, topping on 11 after a couple of setbacks. This is all the makings of a really fine cricket match, because we know how good the Leinster Lightning team is at chasing runs, and so many top quality players in there. Starting 11 today. Singh continuing his third over.
It's a much better ball from Simi. He's trying to eliminate that loose delivery that just lets the Knights break the pressure.
A little bit short, but played straight to mid-wicket, where Timmy Tector is the fielder.
You see, just a few dot balls. You can also already see Topping is using his feet and dancing around the place, looking to play Singh away.
Just past the leg stump and beyond the reach of Tucker. 4 leg buys the decision there.
Well, this one just flew through. Very tough one for Tucker to take. And you can see how wide that ran of the wicket. It came down not quite at 45 degrees, but certainly something on that. Oh.
Very good stop at backward point.
Adam Rossley doing the fielding there, and you're right, that was a super stop. But again, you can see how the Northern Knights, they're not trying to overhit, just trying to play it away, take the singles, keep rotating the strike, and wait for the bad ball. It's been a formula that's worked for them for the first 20 overs.
Really good comeback over this from Singh. And he completes it with a good delivery. So just 1 run off the over, plus the 4 leg buys. And at the end of 20 overs, 112 for 3, the Northern Knights, in a match that has so far ebbed and flowed and mostly gone the way of the Northern side.
Well, as you see on the card, there's 3 wickets to fall. Well, Pretorius can count himself unlucky for that LBW decision he received, but he scored a fine half-century. He was given good support by Adair and Matchett, and now it's Carmichael and Topping looking to rebuild and to build a new partnership, build a new base.
Dockrell a bit short and wide down the leg side, and that was turned beautifully off his hip by Morgan Topping for a boundary. Dockrell will not be pleased.
Well, it's just pitched there, just onto the hip and just flicked away really, but again, with the sunshine and the wind drying out, Sydney Parade, that one just ran right down to the clubhouse, 4 onto the total, which now moves on to 116.
Better delivery from Dockrell that time. He's too good a bowler to.
He wasn't going to
Two
repeat.
in.
He wasn't going to
in a
repeat
row.
the mistake.
No.
So that one was a little bit outside off. That one's more where he wants to put it, but this time punched away behind point.
Just the single to Fionn Hand. Topping seems to have raced away to 17. Carmichael on strike on 8.
Well, that was strange all round. Not very much footwork there from Carmichael. As the ball bounced quite well.
It got up quite a bit off a good length.
But it did mean he was playing it with his bat away from his body.
And that one was down the leg side. Could well be called wide.
Oh, that's super stop on the boundary by Gavin Hoey. Good bit of fielding there. His captain will be delighted with that. One wonders, will we see Gavin Hoey turning his arm over today? He picked up his first Leinster Lightning wicket in Breedy last season. His captain would be well aware of his capabilities.
Carmichael very watchful as the 21st over comes to an end, and the score 119 for 3.
Well,
And a very good start by the Northern Knights as I hand over to Nathan.
well, Nathan, it's even Stevens here by my reckoning. Good run rate, but top three out. Who's ahead?
I think you know what? You have to,
Always the question that people ask you who don't know about cricket: who's winning? It's a dreadful question.
yeah, it always depends on how you frame it and what you consider. I think the huge thing for me is that I think as a Knights player, you look at what's going to happen in the second innings and who the Lightning have at their disposal. I mean, they've basically got the Irish middle order who are all in the form of their lives at the minute in Messrs, Tector, Harry, Tector, obviously Tim's there as well, Tucker and Dockrell. So I think whatever you think is par on a pitch like this, you probably have to add another 50 or so runs at least onto it, given the way those guys have gone recently and the fact that, you know, we're at a reasonably small sized ground.
And even Tim Tector is scoring runs for fun.
He's had a good
in
start in
Leinster
club cricket, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. 43 ball century, already to his name.
Yeah, pretty sure he'll open the batting later on.
Well,
I think he's naturally kind of coming up through the ranks. He's quite similar to his brother. He probably fancies himself as a middle order player, but if you look at it, if you're a young man coming into the Irish setup at the minute, if you're a batter, like that Irish middle order is probably set for the next 5, 6, 7 years with those three that we've mentioned before. So where are you going to get in? It's going to be probably opening the batting.
well, I'm sure that's how Tim's looking at it. See where the opportunities lie for him going ahead. But again, first of all, he's going to have to produce it here in this Interprovincial Cup. Just taking a single on the offside. Adam Rossley doing the fielding. But this is a much better over from Simi Singh. He seems to have found a length that he's happier with, and the batsmen are least happy with. Well, I have to say Carmichael and Topping, they came together pretty much at the same time, but they've been quite sensible. They haven't given any chances. And they're putting the Northern Knights back on course.
This is going to be very interesting now. Gavin Hoey's got the ball in his hand. There are a lot of interesting things about him and his leg spinners training with Ireland over the winter. I think he's made a bit of an impression to the point where he has got a contract this year. He wasn't one of the younger spinners who was selected to go to Asia, but he is kind of next cab off the rank, so to speak, of those kind of young spinners that turn the ball away from right-handers that Ireland are trying so hard to develop.
Well, Gareth Delaney has sort of shown what is possible, and now Gavin Hoey, he spent the winter down in University of New South Wales.
Let's have a look at the figures there. bit of a mixed bag so far for the Lightning, figures-wise. Barry McCarthy started off expensively, but drew it back. He had some big LBW shots turned down, but he eventually did get rid of Ross Adair, nicked him off. Fionn Hand has been a little bit expensive so far. Ruben Wilson, I don't think those figures really betray how well he's bowled. A couple of nicks through the slips that went for 4. He's had 2 put down in the cordon as well. Gavin started off as a quick bowler, didn't he? But I think through injuries,
he had a stress fracture in his back, and of course, you couldn't have a much better leg spinning coach than Conor Hoey. So they spent, and I have to say, hours, multiple hours down in the nets here at Pembroke, and Gavin has worked so hard on his bowling, and it's paying off for him. McCarthy doing the fielding there. But again, this is a good start from Hoey. He slipped straight into a groove here. He seems to have found a good line and length straight away.
He's quite a tall man, is Hoey, isn't he? So I think as a leg spinner, he's not going to give it plenty of air. He's going to bowl flat into the pitch and try and go bowl that top of the stumps line that one day leg spinners try and bowl.
This is a fine over from Hoey. Played round on the leg side, but it's a dot ball. This is a fine start from Hoey. It's come on at this St John's end. Well, that's the end of his first over, and a fine over it was too.
Yeah, great first set from Gavin Hoey. Nice little confidence builder for him. Yeah, like I said, he's really, really intriguing bowler to watch for Ireland.
Well, it looks like Simi Singh to continue as Adam Ross-Lee takes the long, long journey.
Yeah, they've really done him they must really rate him as a fielder, because he's running from long off to long off. They've given him the short straw, that's for sure.
The short straw and the long walk. Despairing dive won't prevent the single, and McCarthy will do the fielding. Another one moves on to the total. But again, the Lightning have that knack of being able to take wickets when they actually need them. And that's what they'll be looking for shortly with these two. These two have put on 33 now in the last 6 overs, so they're going along at a good rate and chance free so far.
Yeah, perhaps the Lightning might be just a little bit disappointed in how the spinners haven't really been able to build the pressure that perhaps they would have liked, considering they pulled things back quite well after a good start in the power play from the Knights. But Singh looks to have settled in now. He's bowling exclusively off spinners now after he tried a few leggies that came out a little on the short side. And Hoey started well as well into his spell.
knocked away, but no single there. Yes, it seemed to be when he was trying to bring it out the back of the hand that it was actually just causing it to fall short.
Yeah, well, Simi Singh's ability to bowl both off spin and leg spin has been well documented. He does like to try and bowl the leg spinner to the right-handers, just in terms of getting that matchup, but it's a skill he's been working at for a long time. It's one that, you know, it's very difficult to master leg spin, let alone if you're a specialist leg spinner, let alone somebody who's trying to do it half the time. I mean, he kind of started a little bit going down the road of someone like Liam Livingston, who bowls almost exclusively off spin to left-handers and leg spin to right-handers. Didn't quite go that far. He does still bowl a lot of off spin to right-handers, but it's something that he's still trying to develop and perfect, I think.
And the wider the repertoire, the more useful the player. Adam Rossley completes another lap of the ground, makes it down to long off again.
Yeah, Rossley's getting the miles in, isn't he? Long off to long off.
Hurry to continue then. Getting a nice bit of movement in the air.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just because they think he's a gun fielder. Rossley's normally a wicketkeeper, I think. He's obviously shown some fielding skills in training.
This one pulled down a little bit, but again the fielders doing a fine job.
Speaking of good fielders, don't get much better than George Docker at mid-wicket there. He's made that look very easy. Such an athletic player. And he got around to his right-hand side to cut off that single.
Well, Barry McCarthy doing a fine job there, almost inducing a little bit of disagreement between the batsmen.
Yeah, it's good from the Lightning. It's 2 deliveries back to back. They managed to cut off singles. Keep topping on strike. That's brilliant from Hoey. Just that speed, it's flat, it's still very full though.
And still a bit of turn at the end as well.
Yeah, it's really good. If you can just beat the outside edge at that speed, it doesn't give the batter time to come down the wicket at you and real smother the spin that there is. It's really, really good stuff from Hoey.
Well, with Tucker standing up, if you're going to come down the track, you better make sure you hit it. Or get something in the way.
I think that's how you have to play Hoey. You've got to try play him on the back foot, just because he will get a little bit more bounce than other spinners, considering his height, and the fact that it is so hard to get on that front foot when he's bowling quick and flat. Of course, that does mean it's harder just to put the foot down and whack him over his head, which is almost what you want as a spinner. You're almost removing a boundary option from these batters.
Gavin Hoey demonstrating why Velcro is such a good idea.
I don't think I've ever seen a pair of Velcro spikes.
I don't even know if they're available.
Maybe that's how we make our money. So good from Hoey. Beats the outside edge again. Then another good over from him. Just the 1 run off it. He's bowled 12 deliveries. He's gone none for 3.
That's
really
good stuff,
impressive.
really. He'll be delighted, but his captain will as well, because it's giving him the element of control that he's been missing so far.
100%. He's kind of in this side as the 3rd spinner today. Obviously he bowled after Messrs Dockrell and Singh, but he's putting forward the case to kind of get him up that pecking order and maybe bring him in as the 1st spinner in future days.
Well, a change of bowling now at the nursery end. Wilson to return. Captain and Semi Singh just having a chat. You can see why he's gone back to Wilson. I mean, he was creating opportunities earlier. His figures don't really reflect quite how well he bowled that first spell.
No, and he was moving the ball both in the air and off the seam a little bit, but considerable amounts. You know, you walk around and you see the reaction of players on the boundaries, and they were saying that absolutely hooping that ball when Ruben Wilson had it in his hand in his first spell, and he was very unfortunate. A pair of drops in the cordon. Tector and Dockrell kind of getting in each other's way as one flew through to the fence, and then another one that was a sharp chance low to George Dockrell's right hand side at 2nd slip.
The first one almost seemed to be, no, after you, sir.
It's so hard when you're in the cordon. Once one person flinches, and if you think they flinch and they're going for it, then your instinct is you're not going to go for it.
Stay well away from those.
And it's one of those ones, because we mentioned the one that they did catch off McCarthy. Dockrell did actually jump in front of Tector to it, and it was the over previous as well. So if you're in Tector's shoes, you know Dockrell might jump in front of you, and then you see him flinch out of the corner of your eye, and I think you're fully justified in thinking that he's not going to go for it. Bit of a rank start to his second spell. Ruben Wilson dragged down the leg side. Topping's more than happy just to swivel and pull it fine.
Well, the fielder was only 10 yards away on the rope where it crossed, and he couldn't make it because it travelled at such speed. But that's not the start Wilson would have wanted. Time played out to the offside boundary. And just take the single.
I think they might have heard us read Adam Rossley. He's been moved from mid-off to the sweeper on the offside, which means when he does come back to long off this side, he's got about maybe 30 yards fewer to run. They've slightly minimised his distance between overs.
I think he's going to meet his count step anyway for the day. Well, I think part of it is Gavin Ho's now fielding here at fine leg.
Huge appeal. He moved a long way across, did Cade Carmichael. Harry Tector was convinced behind the stumps at first slip. I think Ruben Wilson thinks that was close as well. He moved a long way across and was hit as he tried to shuffle into the offside. The only thing that I can think of was it missing leg stump, but like I said, he moved a long way across.
He's already across there.
Oh, that looks very adjacent. Only thing is, maybe it's hard to tell on this angle when the camera's behind the batter, but did it hit him outside the line of off stump? Did he get far enough across?
Well, either way, you suspect Wilson will have a look at that later on the feed. Well, is often the case. The next ball, very much an effort ball.
He hasn't had any luck today, has Wilson. 2 drops. Close LBW shout, that 50 maybe.
I mean, in fact, off his 4.4 overs, he could be 3 for 20 something instead of 0 for 32. Well, they run the first one quickly. They're looking for the second, and they'll get it quite handily. There haven't been too many 2s on this ground this morning. There's 2 more to Topping.
He's been good on that front foot to the offside, as Morgan Topping. Big square boundaries as well here at Pembroke. Very short straight, quite big each side square. Easily come back for a second.
Well, another one past the batsman.
That's another sign of maybe the slowish nature of the pitch. Topping's trying to pull the ball and ends up shooting through off a length.
So 26 overs gone now. 135 for 3. There's our card to date. Well, that was a fine knock by Pretorius.
Well, he took advantage of the Lightning sluggish start. I mean, they bowled far too straight to him early on. Himself and Rossiter had a lot of joy playing McCarthy off his pads, and then whenever Fionn Hand dropped short, initially Pretorius hit a couple of maximums off the outside edge, but then he settled in and he started punishing those shorter deliveries brilliantly. And only frustrating for him is that he couldn't kick on once the spinners came in.
Well, 6 bowlers used so far. Nobody really standing out as yet. Dockrell with 1 for 12. McCarthy, who took that first wicket, but even McCarthy would feel that he's been sold short by the cricketing gods today.
Well, I guess the only saving grace for Barry was after those 2 big LBW shouts against Adair, he did eventually nick him off.
This is a fascinating contest. These two now have put on 44. Another one played through on the offside, well fielded and well backed up.
Sub fielder Mikey O'Reilly, top man today. He's on a point, not quite sure who's gone off. From a quick scan, I think it might be Barry McCarthy who's gone off, not 100% sure.
Slightly slower delivery from Hoey.
It's the first one we've really seen him toss up. Plenty of air on that. It's not something he's done. And maybe as he settled into his spell a little bit more, he's got a bit more confident to try and give it some air. But like I said, it's not something he does naturally, given his height and almost kind of a round arm action as well. That's such a good length. It's almost impossible to hit a leg spinner off that length when he's bowling that flat.
As you say, when he's pushing it through. And on that line and length, well, you do well just to keep him out. There it is again. And that's what he's looking for, is the consistency of his delivery. And yes, he did throw in that slightly slower pitch, throwing up one earlier on. But as long as he has that stock ball that he can just rely on.
Well, you can afford to toss it up, I think, when you're building as much pressure as you are. Like even that, the benefit of bowling as flat as he is, when you miss your length, you're more likely to miss it short. And again, I think that's what you want to do here at Pembroke. Very short straight boundaries, very big square boundaries. If they're cutting and pulling you hard to the sweepers, you'd rather that happens than you're missing full and they're hitting you into the side screen.
Yes, yeah, anything falling into the slot that they can get underneath, as you say, is going to go straight. But he has, once we're out of the first power play, now he has a sweeper on each side. He has that safety net that enables him to vary his bowling.
27 overs gone. I know he's given up just 7 runs in his 3 overs so far, number 7. I imagine he'll continue. Ruben Wilson, it's the young brigade doing it for the Lightning at the minute.
Which is great to see, and part of the reasons for these interprovincials is to see next cabs on the rank.
Yeah, especially with someone like Wilson. Last year, seam bowling was an issue for the Lightning. Josh Little wasn't as available, given international commitments. Be interesting to see how much interprovincial cricket he does play this year, given his increased franchise workload. But it was an issue for them last year, given the amount of international cricket there was. Seam bowling stocks were diminished, and they made a move. They brought Fionn back from Munster to try and address that issue. Brought in youngsters such as Ruben Wilson, and it's really good to see him step up and not just survive, but be a genuine threat. Like we've said, he could easily have 3 for 20 instead of none for 35.
Yep. And it's great for him to get the experience, where you realise very quickly you have to be consistent, and you can't afford to have that one ball and over that just floats down or is pulled down short and gets put away. And it is a good stepping stone from the club cricket into this and then on to international, and it just shows these bowlers what they need to be doing.
At the risk of creating narratives that completely shouldn't exist at all, down at long off, you've got Nigel Jones, the head coach of the Lightning, and he's having a long conversation with Ryan Eagleson. You can see him there in his minty green tracksuit top, let's call it that. But that's, of course, the Irish international bowling coach, and, at the risk of looking into something that's not there. Young, promising Irish bowler being watched very keenly by both his head coach and his potential future bowling coach, should he be called up in the coming years.
Well, it's good to see people such as the Ireland men's bowling coach here to run the rule over. There's possible replacements or call-ups.
Well, there's quite a few of those minty green tracksuits around the ground here at Pembroke. A few, I think I can see. I think Gary Wilson is sitting on the side screen behind Wilson. So at least 2 members of the Irish coaching staff are here. Given they're all decked out, I suspect that they've had a training session somewhere nearby today. They've come down to take in the cricket in the afternoon. not much rest for them. They're only just back from Chelmsford. I suspect they would have come back. Well, the game was on Sunday. Maybe flew back yesterday. Have a week of Interpro cricket, and then they're back over in Chelmsford for that 3-day game ahead of Lords.
Yes, the Island team very busy this summer.
Speaking of Lords, England squad announced today. A lot of speculation as to fitness for them. Will Jofra Archer be fit? Will he not? He's not. He's not in that 15-man squad. It was named at 10 o'clock today. But bar a couple of injuries, they're at full strength pretty much. It was interesting. A lot of people were... Oh, big swing and a miss outside that off stump. Good length from Wilson. Probably not short enough for that cut shot. 28 overs gone. 141 for 3. It was very interesting because there was a lot of discussion about whether England's top players would be back from the IPL or not. Would they give them some time off before the Ashes after their IPL stints? The likes of Harry Brook. Ben Stokes already said that he was going to miss the latter stages of the IPL for this test match, but there's a few others in there. The roots at the IPL. But they're all there. They're all in that 15-man squad. They've named a very, very strong group for that test match beginning on June the 1st.
Well, perhaps under previous leadership of the England cricket team, they may have been tempted to blood some youngsters, give people a rest. But I think Stokes and McCallum are very much of the keep going. Nicely played shot.
Good from Hoey. He really is starting to toss it up more and more now. He's going to invite these Knights batters to come after him. They haven't really shown any intent to do so far in his spell. So I think he's more than happy to take a few more risks as he gets further into it. Of course, that is 50 partnership. Off 72 deliveries between these two.
It may not be at the speed of the earlier partnerships, but these have done a very good job of rebuilding, and now with a 50 between them, 41 minutes. Well, they've brought the Northern Knights up to 142, only just past the halfway mark on the overs, so that total we were talking about early on of 300 plus, certainly on the cards.
It's on the cards, and I think it's probably par. You probably need 300 at this ground. The pitch does look good. There's been a few demons, but generally you've got value for your shots. You hit through the line. There's been plenty of boundaries from guys playing on the up, on top of the bounce. And of course, we say it again, the batting lineup at this Lightning side is probably the best in the competition.
Packed with potential runs.
Yeah.
Still have to go out to the middle and do it, but yes, one of the things I noticed was the 5th highest run scorer in this competition last year was Barry McCarthy.
Yeah, but he turned up at Pembroke, didn't he, last year in a 50-over game?
110.
Well, that's the other thing. Whatever about we're talking about that middle order, it's the length of this Lightning batting lineup as well. I mean, you mentioned McCarthy. He's liable to come in 7 or 8, maybe Fionn Hands. It's a big ball for this side. Not quite sure where Simi Singh is going to bat, but he's opened in previous years. That just elongates the lineup even more.
LBW turned down.
Bit of inside, bit of bat. Thought I heard 2 noises.
Well, we'll get to see it again, if not hear it again. But just going back to your point about long batting orders, I see Neil Rock is down to come in at 8 or 9 for the Northern Knights, which suggests that they're very definite inside edge there.
I suspect if they keep Hoey going, we might see Neil Rock come in next just to bring in that left-hander for the leg spinner. And he plays spin very well, does Neil Rock.
Well, there we go. There's the graphic that shows just how well the Northern Knights have done with their partnerships. Decent sizable ones, just the loss of Matchett and Pretorius close together. But by and large, they've done well.
Yeah, they've done a good job of avoiding wickets in clusters, haven't they? So as well as the Lightning have done in patches, they haven't been able to get on top of the game.
Yes, there's another one racing away to the boundary.
Yeah, speaking of a lack of luck for Ruben Wilson, his skipper George Dockrell hasn't done him a lot of favours there at extra cover. Normally such a good field, he would have backed himself to get more than the hand he did on it. It's a good shot. It is a half volley outside off. It was timed nicely by Carmichael, but Dockrell just couldn't get enough of a hand on it to stop it from going away to the fence.
Nathan, are you aware of how old Wilson is?
Wilson's 16 as far as I believe.
16. Well,
He was 15 when he went to the 19s World Cup. January 22, I believe it was.
okay.
And he did quite well there. Remember, there was a game against South Africa in particular where he bowled very well. If I remember correctly, I can't remember if he got him out or not. I think there might have been a controversial LBW decision that wasn't given out, but Dewald Brevis, the South African wonder kid, I know.
Well, isn't he a wonder kid? I saw his knock during the winter.
Yeah, Brevis, who of course has played plenty of IPL and excelled at the SAT 20, and Wilson looked pretty good against him not too long ago in that 19s World Cup.
Well, certainly a lot of potential here with Wilson. One can only expect him to get stronger, quicker.
He's got a very good action. It's very repeatable. It's very compact. You see a lot of bowlers with actions that might be liable to get injured using, mechanics aren't quite right. He's got a very strong action, very front on, but it's one of those where he's got the mechanics once he ages and flashed away down to third.
Well, fielded down at third, prevents the boundary.
It's one of those where it's an action. Once he's older, more experienced, it potentially bulks up a little bit. He's only 16. There's going to be plenty of pace that gets put onto that action, one would hope.
Good to see. And again, the Interprovincial Series giving opportunities to players that you might not have seen otherwise. Oh. Well, one thinks that when he gets off the pitch today, Wilson is going to rue the fact that he could have had 3, 4 or even a 5 for today, but sometimes luck just doesn't go your way. He's one ball left in this, the 30th over, but these two, Carmichael and Topping, have done a wonderful job for the Northern Knights. Well, the score had gone to 92 for 3 with the departure of Pretorius, and yet these two have taken it on to 152 for 3, and they've put on 60, the biggest partnership of the game. And this time played round the corner for another single, and that concludes 30 overs.
So 30 overs gone. And a really, really good basis this for a big innings. Carmichael on 24, Topping on 36. And after a few excellent overs from Gavin Hoey, back comes the skipper, George Dockrell.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I would have kept Hoey going. He just looked like he was, after being very economical and, going at 2 or 3 runs and over. His previous over, he looked like he was starting to toss it up more and ask questions and look like more of a wicket-taking threat. But he's been taken out of the attack by the skipper. He's bringing himself back on. Of course, can't fault George Dockrell for being confident. He's been very good with the ball for Ireland in that recent series over in Chelmsford against Bangladesh.
Well, one thing the Northern Knights have not been able to do is get a lot of boundaries in the last 7 or 8 overs.
Yeah, I think that's a very good sign for the Lightning.
Their field placings are excellent, and they're bowling to their fields, and they're not giving the Northern Knights too many loose deliveries.
Well, I think when they have kind of erred a little bit, the Lightning bowlers, it's been like what we've just seen there. It's been shorter. We were talking about it with Craig there. If as a spinner on this park, when the boundary square is so big, if you're going to miss your length, you want to miss short, so you get hit to the sweeper on the longer side of the boundary, where it's harder to find the fence. You don't want to be tossing it up too much and getting miss hits for 6, because the straight boundaries are so short.
Another nice single into the offside.
It's really good from Dockrell. He's saying to Morgan Topping there, he's saying, right, you might be able to punch me out to deep cover for an easy single off that length, but how are you going to hit me for 4 off that length, given the field that I've got and given the boundary dimensions there? And the Knights, well, for now, they're content just to beat the outside edge there. Quicker delivery from Dockrell. But for now, the Knights are just content just to take these ones and not really change their plans. They're not really trying to hit Dockrell and co off their lengths. And you would think, given now that they've got wickets in hand and 20 overs to go, they're going to have to start. Well, that was a change of plan. Carmichael moving a long way across the stumps.
Ghostly delivery.
Well, you could see Carmichael moved across his stumps just as Dockrell got into his gather. I think George Dockrell very cleverly just said, no chance, mate. I'm not bowling that one.
Wider delivery that time. Batsman wasn't tempted. These two have put on over 60 and they've only scored between them 6 boundaries. Oh, that's a snicker.
Was that a chance? It went between Tucker and Tector at first slip. Tector pulled out the dive, but I'm not sure if he got a hand on that. It was a very, very sharp chance. It's been tough for the Lightning slip cordon today.
Another over slips by, but they got the boundary. And the score moves on to 159. Here it is again.
Just by him by the time he got down. Very fast. Maybe a sign that he might have been standing a little bit wide at first slip there, but nonetheless was past him before he could get a hand on it.
There's always that tendency, isn't there, when there's one slip that you're more or less in a second or even a 2.5 slip position.
Yeah, Lightning bowlers haven't had a lot of luck with the nicks that they've induced today. We did see one taken. It was a brilliant low catch by George Dockrell at second slip to get rid of Rossadair for the first wicket of the day. Barry McCarthy, the bowler. But since then, there's been one that went through the cordon between Tector and Dockrell. Dockrell put a really sharp low chance down. Both of those off Ruben Wilson. And then Tector let that one fly by him.
Fionn Hand coming back into the attack for his 3rd spell. This will be his 6th over. Carmichael on 29, topping on 37. But as you can see, the run rate down to 5.13.
Well, they finally held on to an edge.
And that is a faint edge and a big wicket because Topping was looking good. But he's been caught behind by Tucker off the first ball of the new spell from Fionn Hand. And the 4th wicket goes down. And it's now 159 for 4. And still nearly 20 overs to go in the innings.
That's a big, big blow for the Lightning. Fionn Hand back in for his 3rd spell. First delivery hits his length hard. He's been a little bit wayward so far today, has Hand, but he started well. Topping tries to get forward to drive. Realises it's not there for the shot. Tentative prod takes the outside edge. And Tucker does the rest.
37 well compiled runs off 60 deliveries. 2nd top scorer so far in the inning. But again, they're going to have to recalibrate their innings. And the first left-hander comes in.
Yeah, here's the skipper for the day for the Knights. It's Neil Rock, their wicketkeeper and captain. I thought we might see him in next, given that they are bowling some left-arm spin and some leg spin. Just change the matchup slightly.
Always good in the one-day format to have a lefty and a righty batting together. Makes it more awkward for the fielding side. But Fionn Hand won't mind. He's got his tail up now. First wicket of the new year. And a big boost for his confidence.
Yeah, that's huge for Fionn Hand. Interesting to see what they do from the other end, though. Now that the left-hander is in, do they bring in their off-spinner once again? Do they give Singh a chance to bowl to the lefty, bowl to his favourable matchup? Long discussion here between the skipper, Dockrell, and Hand as they try and size up what the plan is to Neil Rock. They are bringing another fielder inside the circle at mid-wicket.
Still the slip in play. the momentum of this innings has been kept to a manageable level by Leinster Lightning with some really good bowling and some very good tactics.
Yeah, they've been up and down in periods. They started slowly but pulled things back well. McCarthy kind of came back well into his spell, and Wilson's first spell was excellent. Probably didn't create as much pressure as they would have liked initially with spin, but then the introduction of Hoey helped a lot with that. And Fionn has come in and he's struck. He's actually going to change his angle here. He's going to come around the wicket to the left-hander.
.39 runs off his first 5 overs. But this is a really good improvement for him. He's got that wicket and he's definitely out for more. Small alteration on the screen as he comes around the wicket this time. Well played. A couple of runs by the skipper Rock. He's off the mark.
Yeah, change of angle from hand, comes around the wicket and he just misses his length there. Short and wide to Rock. Probably be a bit frustrated he didn't manage to get more on that, get up to the fence. It's a big boundary on that offside.
That one's just snicked away fine down the leg side for 4 wides. Sounded like it touched something as it went through past the batsman.
I have no idea what's going on here. He's given a dead ball. I was convinced Neil Rock got a little bit of bat on that, but the umpire has signaled dead ball, which suggests he thinks that Rock hasn't played a shot and he's tried to run. He's clearly tried to play a shot. No idea what's happened there. Well, that one is a wide.
Yes, a bit of confusion, all right. Looked to me like it could have been leg buys, but...
Oh, it sounded very wooden,
yeah,
the noise, as it went past Rock.
No run, sharply fielded by Tim Tector at backward point. And that's the end of a very important wicket-taking over by Fionn Hand, his first of the series. And it's 162 for 4 after 32 overs. So many options for Leinster Lightning. George Dockrell has so many bowlers at his disposal. He's going to continue himself though. Second over of his second spell.
Yeah, he's got the right-hander on strike in Carmichael. He's going to continue with his left-arm spin.
Carmichael, who has moved quietly to 29. Keeps the score ticking over with another single. And now Neil Rock to face his first ball at the far end from Dockrell.
This is an intriguing matchup. Rock is a very good player of spin. The ball turning into him obviously is traditionally easier as a left-hander to face. He loves to play a slog sweep. There is a gap out there at deep mid-wicket. Does he take it on this early in his innings, or does he try and consolidate, given that there's still just under 18 overs to go?
Just 2 out on the leg side. Hits that very firmly to mid-off, where Mark Donegan is the fielder.
It's clever from Dockrell. He's taken his mid-off up inside the circle. He's saying to Rock, if you want to try and hit me downtown against the spin this early in your innings, be my guest.
And that time he has pulled it away handsomely through drag for a boundary, his first of the innings.
Yeah, too short from Dockrell. Bit of a rank drag down. He has got a deep square in place, but he's not able to cut that off. Powerful strike from Rock.
And that one was down the leg side too and called a wide. Unusual from George Dockwell to air like that. Just pushing his mid off to the boundary. And that's a better ball. Quietly played by Rock for no run. Just over 17 overs to go. Big total on offer here if the Knights can keep their wickets intact. Quick single. Comfortably taken. Rock moves on to 7. Good delivery and well played. And that's the end of the 33rd over. 169 for 4. Still plenty of time for the Northern Knights to post a total that could demand a lot of this Leinster Lightning batting lineup.
Yeah, the only thing to caution against with this Knights side today is they don't necessarily bat as deep as the Lightning do. Still got the likes of Foster, Humphreys, Mays to come. Theo Van Warren is there as well. So that will definitely factor into the game planning here from skipper Rock and Carmichael, who is well and truly set on 30. At what point do they try and accelerate? They probably have to accelerate a little bit later than they ideally would like, given that they are 4 down and they have a little bit of a lengthy tail to work with today.
Fionn Hand to continue, having got a wicket in his last over. 1 for 42 off his 6 so far. And that one snicked down to Simi Singh. On the boundary, just a single. Very important for Carmichael to stay in here. He's the batsman at the crease. Well set.
Yeah, I think he's got to be the anchor role. Anchors aren't really necessarily as big of a thing as they used to be in high level cricket, given the way the game has gone. But if he's got to be the one people bat around here, I think. He's got to keep getting down the other end. Let Neil Rock take the risks, particularly down the other end when he's got his strength against the left arm spinner.
Firmly played out to Fionn Hand. In fact, it's Adam Russley at deep cover. Hand continuing over the wicket to the left-hander. Quick single. That might have been close had it struck the wicket.
Good piece of work from Gavin Hoey. Quick off the mark there at mid-off.
Rock moves to 9. Carmichael on 31. Still just 2 out on the leg side. Oh, a lot of effort went into that one.
Yeah, first genuine short one we've seen today. Fionn Hand. We saw on his first spell where he managed to get the ball just to zip up off the leg. He's not the quickest bowler in the world, but he's quite tall and his action means he gets a bit of bounce. Be interesting to see. They have got the field set for the short ball ploy if they do want to try and test Kate Carmichael here.
Well pitched up and well played too. be cut off, but there'll be 2 runs scored.
The old classic short ball followed up by the full ball. Carmichael was ready for it. Foot movement was good. Drives that through the covers.
Moves on to 33. Another change in the field here. Extra fielder on the offside. Firm stroke to deep cover. Just a single. And that's the end of the 34th over. 175 for 4. It's getting to that part of the innings where you start asking yourself, well, what is a good total on this wicket? And against this Leinster Lightning team, probably there's no total that you could set.
300 minimum is par. But it looks like the players are going to go off for a drink. And while they do so, we'll take a short break.
for his 7th over. $175 for 4, 34 overs gone. And as you were saying, Nathan, it's all about when the Knights decide to push on, given that they've 4 wickets gone already.
Well, I think that drinks break was a natural kind of break point for them, a natural time to not necessarily start anew, but to have a slight shift in attitude. Interesting to see Barry McCarthy is warming up there at backward point. Looks like George Dockwell might be bringing back his opening bowler for a dart or two. I can't imagine he'll bowl too many overs. He'll be required at the death.
He's already bowled 5 of his 10.
Yeah, I suspect he'll come on for another 2 or 3, maybe 2, and then he'll have 3 at the end.
Dockrell really showing his experience in this important phase of the game. A little bit short there, and they get the single to McCarthy at backward point. Carmichael moving on to 34. Pretorius with a fine 50 earlier in the piece. Morgan Topping out for 37. And Carmichael the 3rd top scorer for the Knights. And here's their skipper, Neil Rock. Pulled cleverly round the corner, and that's going to go all the way for 4. Very wristy shot, but well played, kept it down.
Well, that's classic Neil Rock. He loves a sweep shot. Dockrell bowling into his arc a little bit, turning the ball into him. He fetches that from well outside off stump, but the option was there. Square leg was inside the ring. Not quite sure about the plan here to have square leg up, considering it is a relatively risk-free shot for Rock to play, given the way the ball is spinning.
This time it snicks away backward of point, beats the fielder there for another boundary. Consecutive boundaries for the Knights.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about the decision to continue the left arm spinner to Rock. He is probably the strongest player of spin in this Knights lineup. I think I'd rather have the off spinner bowling to the right hander than Dockrell bowling to Rock here. Bit of a fortuitous boundary off the outer half of the bat. He's thrown his hands at a wide delivery and gotten his reward.
Rock moves to 17 off 13 deliveries. And that was a bit short. Could be a couple here. Easy 2 for Rock, who moves to 19. Expensive over from George Dockrell.
Yeah, they felt like an expensive over without the Knights necessarily having to take a lot of risks there. I mean, Rock did walk across to sweep one from well outside off, but it was a relatively risk-free shot given the field placing. Square leg was up inside the circle.
So after 35 overs, 186 for 4, and just signs after the drinks break that maybe the Knights are going to push on here.
Yeah, looking at run rates, etc. from here, wickets in hand. Obviously, the longer these two bat, better for the Knights, given their long tail, as we mentioned earlier. But 320 is probably be a very good effort from here, given they're almost certainly going to lose a few wickets as they try to accelerate.
So here comes McCarthy this time with the wind. His 6th over. Good quick delivery. Carmichael unable to beat the fielder.
He's almost clattered his own man there. Neil Rock did a very good job to get out of the way at the non-striker's end. Lovely on drive from Carmichael. Just hit it straight to mid-on. Couldn't find his gap.
Just 3 boundaries in his 36. He'd probably like the ball coming onto him here. Got a bit tucked up, good delivery, play lift.
Yeah, just looking for some width that wasn't really there from McCarthy. Trying to cut the ball just outside his off stump.
The cool north breeze sweeping down the ground, helping McCarthy in this his second spell. When the sun goes behind those clouds, it's pretty chilly. Short pulled into mid-wicket, but just a single.
Yeah, I like that option from McCarthy. Big leg side boundary. Just every now and then, test him out with that short ball. Carmichael managed to play it, but just looked a little bit rushed. Wasn't 100% in control of the stroke.
Mikey O'Reilly, the sub fielder, out in the deep at backward square. Plenty of lift there from McCarthy. Rock leaves it alone. Eight and over maybe from now to the end would set a target that the Northern Knights could certainly bowl at. Squirted away behind square and away to the boundary for 4. Fourth boundary indeed for Rock.
Rock's looked good here. He started well. Just placed that one nicely. Used the pace on offer from McCarthy. He's tried to go full and wide. Probably just didn't quite get it in the block as he was looking to do. The field is set for that type of bowling. Not a big gap between point and third is on the fence, but Rock managed to find it and he timed it well enough.
Better delivery, well pitched up, and forcing Rock to play straight as the 36th over comes to an end. 191 for 4. Very good partnership developing between these two.
Well, potentially a little bit later than perhaps it should have been, but they're going to bring their off spinner back into the attack. Simi Singh will be the right-handed Carmichael on strike. But like I said, I think that's a better option. I just think, given Rock's strength against spin, I'd rather bowl off spin to him and to Carmichael, and George Dockel's left arm spin to Rock.
Simi Singh, who had 5 overs in his initial spell. Six bowlers so far used by Leinster.
I think if you're the Knights, you got to look to target Singh here, especially Carmichael, right-hander. It's big boundary to that leg side. He's going to be looking to hit him down the ground. Got to try and get the spinner out of the attack quickly. Don't let him bowl 3 or 4 overs here. Get those strike bowlers back. Get the death bowlers bowling earlier than they should be.
Few minor adjustments in the field. There's a deep cover and 3 on the leg side. And that's half stop, but it's not going to prevent the single. Carmichael moves to 37. Definitely a lefty and a righty together is making it more awkward for Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, this is the matchup for the Lightning. Offie to the left-hander. Slip goes in. George Dockrell staying aggressive with his captaincy.
A definite chance there. There was a big gap between mid-wicket and backward square, but he played it straight to the fielder. Just glanced fine down the leg side off the face of the bat, and that's run away for a boundary.
Too straight from the sink. Going around the wicket, just it can be easy sometimes just to go on with the angle. Well,
Rock doing really well. 27 off 19 deliveries now, just what the Knights would have wanted.
He's playing a bit of a gem of an innings, isn't he? He's kind of taken over the aggressor role from Carmichael, as he probably needed to do. As we mentioned earlier, Carmichael, as the set batter, he's the one who's more likely to bat through here, as Rock looks to up the ante.
Quick single to backward square. Rock moves to 28. Score approaching 200 in the 37th over. Big hit. Is there somebody there? Goes all the way, just over the head of the fielder.
There's those short straight boundaries we've been talking about so much today. Carmichael takes it on. He didn't get all of it at all. I think it might be Adam Rossley down there at long on. Just inches over his head. Would have thought he was in the game there for a second. Difficult to see there on camera, but just about cleared him by a matter of inches.
First 6 for Carmichael. And seeing with another expensive over. And the 200 is up for the Northern Knights with still 13 overs to go. 8 and over would get them up to around 290, 295, which would be a useful target. Maybe not enough runs on this small ground, but we shall see later on.
Well, the boundaries are big enough to square the wicket. The short ones are straight, but I think the Northern Knights are still looking and feeling that they can reach 300, 320. A lot's going to be down to these two. Carmichael's done really well for his 43.
And Rock also 28 off 21. Wow. Moving the score along at a very good nick.
He's been a promising batsman for quite a while. I still remember him putting me over. Seeing him playing in rush, he'd know how to hit a 6, that's for sure.
Well pitched up. Good ball from McCarthy.
It's good to see Barry back bowling again. He's coming back from injury. Had a game for Pembroke first team last Saturday. Good to see him back in the blue of Leinster.
Breeze has just dropped a little in the last few minutes.
Just a small inside edge. McCarthy's after it himself. I don't think he's going to do anything except prevent the second being taken.
These two are doing really well. They're rotating the strike. They're keeping the scoreboard ticking along nicely.
Well, as much as the big hits and the boundaries, it's the ones and the twos that are helping the Northern Knights put this decent total onto the board. As you say, anything under the 300, the Leinster Lightning will be delighted with, I feel.
Very good wicket. little bit for the bowlers. Plenty of pace in it for the batsmen. And there's plenty of pace there.
My goodness, that one flew away. Tucker did very well to take that one over his head.
Signal to wide.
McCarthy showing he can still drop